was when I was in.
Do you know that was my original place?
I do. Yeah.
And the camera's not
Yeah,
present.
and when I was in D.C. a few years ago, before the pandemic happened, I have a friend who's a really good harmonica player. He just turned 90. He's still practicing law. Very healthy guy. I still think you should retire because it's crazy to be practicing such a stressful profession when you're 90 years old.
Fred had two uncles that did the same thing.
Yeah.
One of them in D.C.
That's Lauren. And I'm behind her. Nobody can see me. So actually, with this setup, everybody is in the picture.
Those politicians, all they care about is money and power. They'll do anything to stay in power.
How are you?
Doing okay. Very aware the microphone is on right now.
That was, it was in the district. It wasn't too far from this house, and it was pretty close to Connecticut. Yeah, it was in Adams Morgan.
Just so you know,
It
why
was in
it's set
Adams
up the way
Morgan.
it is.
And,
With the way that the band was positioned before, half of the band was us unseen.
yeah,
David was behind us.
there was some like,
This
there
way,
was
as
some
long as you don't
amazing
mind being.
people. I was just visiting, so I hadn't brought a guitar or anything, but
And I've had my shots.
You think?
he would get up and like jam with the
No, I checked this. I checked it all.
rocket player.
You didn't check
And,
me.
but
Well,
they had
everybody
it
else is
Right,
mad.
right. It's like not counting down.
at least one night, more than one night a week.
But that's why it's
And, I
set
mean,
up
you
the
had
way
to
it is.
Perfect.
put
Yeah,
your
that's
shit
better.
together.
Yeah.
Because the people that were getting up and playing at that open mic, they were not slouches.
I don't want to ruin it for everyone.
Like,
No, there's lots of good players. And,
They're here to see. They're here to see you.
you know, it's one of the bluegrass hotbeds.
We're ready.
okay,
What? I'm afraid that this is going to.
This Rabbi want us to start? Okay. Well, let me, everybody ready? It looks like Jamie's still getting ready. And Stuart's not up there yet.
Rabbi said, let's go ahead and start.
Yeah. We all ready?
Sounds good.
It shows.
Okay. Let's go.
May our temple's doors be open wide to all who are hungry for love. May we welcome all seekers of truth inside, those searching for life from above. May the doors of our temple be open to all. Baruchim Habayim, may we always heed the call. The doors of our hearts be open as well, and free from all anger and pride. May the doors of our temple be open to all. Baruchim Habayim. May we always heed the call. May we be a family of faith with love at the center. May our temple hold a beautiful light for all who enter. A sanctuary from all hatred and strife, with doors and hearts open to a more meaningful life. May our temple's doors be open wide to all who are hungry for love. May we welcome all seekers of truth inside, those searching for light from above. May the doors of our temple be open to all. Baruchim Habayim. May we always heed the call.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
So grateful and give me a little feedback, right? Okay, thanks, Gabe. Grateful to have Gabe with us, helping us with our sound as we celebrate Shabbat with the kosher cow pokes. And are so thrilled to have you here elevating our prayers, our praise, our blessings this evening and our celebration together here in community as we celebrate Shabbat, which symbolizes not just joy and the wonderful things in life, but also the ability to stop and to rest and to feel a sense of peace and calm. And as we celebrate that fact and that notion, and as we acknowledge it here tonight, we also acknowledge that there are people around the world, and particularly in Europe, who cannot take a moment for Shabbat, cannot take a moment for calm and peace in Europe and around the world in so many places as well. So we think of all of them as we turn in our prayer book to pages 2 and 3 to light the Shabbat candles. We welcome forward Joyce Jaffe, Susan Jaffe, Lindsay Jaffe, as together we rise and read from the top of page 3. We read together. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light. So may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. We join together as the candles are lit. We join together in singing the blessing.
May the glow of these candles bring peace to the world, and the spirit of Shekhinah surround us. May the blessing of our days fill our hearts with love. And Shabbat Shalom be here, Baruch atah במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר של שבת, להדליק נר של שבת.
As you take a moment to turn and greet and wave to the people around you to wish each other Shabbat Shalom, I then invite you to be seated. We continue on page 20. As we sing, we welcome those of the youngest people present, if they wish, to head with Mora Lisa to Zalanka Hall for B'nai Shabbat activities. Page 20, we sing Lechadodi.
Shalom u'mevorah.
Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom u'mevorah.
Page 29. O God, you are as near as the very air we breathe, yet farther than the farthermost star. We yearn to reach you. We seek the light and warmth of your presence. Though we say you are near, we are lonely and alone. O let our desire be so strong that it will tear the veil that keeps you from our sight. Let your light release our darkness and reveal the glory and joy of your presence. On the facing page, we rise for the call to prayer, the Baruch Hu. Page 31. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim. And we continue together in Hebrew, page 32. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael, amcha ahavta, Torah umitzvot, chukim umishpatim, otanu lemadata, al kein Adonai Eloheinu, b'shochbenu uvekumenu, v'nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, uv'mitzvotecha leolam va'ed, ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu, uvahem nege yomam v'layla, ve'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Moed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Moed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
You may be seated as we chant together, page 36.
Elohecha, b'chol levacha, b'chol nafshecha, u'b'chol eodecha, v'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'divrartam abam, v'shivtecha b'etecha, Kumecha, Ushartam leot, Decha, Vehayu lehotafot beinenecha, Ushartam amezuzot betecha, Visharecha, Leman tiskeru, Vasitem et kol mitzvotai, Vihitem otoshim leoichem, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher hotzeitkechem me'eretz Mitzrayim, lihiot lachem le'Elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem.
We read responsively on page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. As we sing together in joy and celebration, just as our ancestors did as they realized freedom.
Dance and dance the whole night long.
Miriam was a weaver of unique variety.
The tapestry she wove was one which sang our history.
With every strand and every thread she crafted her delight.
A woman touched with spirit, she dances toward the light.
When Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed across the sea,
The wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe.
whoever thought this we would part with an outstretched hand,
And we would pass to freedom and march to the promised land.
and the women dancing with the timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one who is exalted. Miriam and the women danced
And danced the whole night long.
And Miriam the prophet took the timbrel in her hand.
And all the women followed her just as she had planned.
And Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might.
We've just lived through a miracle, we're gonna dance tonight.
And the women dancing with the timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one who is exalted.
Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long.
Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Page 43. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim, as we sing the words on the facing page, Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. Ve'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukkot shomecha, ufros aleinu sukkot shomecha. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. Amen.
We rise as we begin our Amidah together, page 46.
La 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 la. 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 Adonai.
Open up my lips, my mouth, and declare your praise. La 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 la, la 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 la.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, V'konei hakol, v'zocher hasei avot v'ima'ot, u'mei geula livnei b'neihem, leman shemo v'achava, melech ozer u'moshiach u'magen. Baruch atah Adonai, magen Avraham v'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atah Moshiach, Moshiach Hagashem, Mechachel Chayim behesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somek noflim le'ovrei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umakayem emunato lishenei afar mikamocha ba'al givurot umidomelach melech memid umachaye umatzmiya Yeshua v'ne'amatal chayom hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom b'lechuno selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
You may be seated as we turn to page 57 and sing together, Ever-Present One, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer.
Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayers. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayers. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land in Zion, restored in our land, you are our God whom alone we serve. In reverence, Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu, Ve'amcha Yisrael, U'tefilatam Yahava Tekabel. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu, Ve'amcha Yisrael, U'tefilatam Yahava Tekabel. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land in Zion, restored in our lands, you are our God whom alone we serve. In reverence, Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu, Ve'amcha Yisrael, be worthy to feel
Page 61. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. We take a moment for silent prayer, and then we'll continue together in song on page 62.
Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Vegoali, Yehiyu leratson imrefi, Ve'yon libi lefanecha, Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Vegoali,
We turn our thoughts to those in need of healing of mind, body, or spirit. I invite those who are with us virtually to share the names of those they are praying for, either aloud to themselves or by typing them, as I offer these names on behalf of our community, and then invite those present to add any names that they are praying for as well. We pray for healing for Jess Weinberg, Lloyd Gerard, Dolores Spector, Adela Seaman, John Garcia, Michael Cohen, Neora Garcia, Wendy Axelrod, Christopher Duran, Steve Borowski, Julian Garcia, Barbara Scher, Simcha Bat Ruben Visaralea, Doris Gluck, Gail Gluck Levinson. We are, of course, praying for all of those displaced in suffering in Europe and around the world under the threat of violence and terror and tragedy in Ukraine and everywhere. To those names and to those people, we add the following names. We pray for all who are in need of healing as we sing a prayer together.
May it be your will that we will heal completely whole, body and soul. And may we hear your love through the fear we understand. We're in your hands. May we have our share, a future life, and may this fair bring more light. Yai-da-dai, yai-da-dai, yai-da-dai-dai-dai. Not me alone, ye were sown. May it be your will that we heal. Not me alone, ye were sown.
Four rabbis engage in theological arguments, and it's always 3 against 1. Finally, the odd rabbi out appeals to a higher authority. God, he cries, I know I'm right. Please, a sign to prove it to them. And suddenly, from a sunny day, it pours. A sign from God. See, I am right. But the other 3 disagree, saying, storms often come and cool down hot days. So again, please God, a bigger sign. Lightning slams a tree. Is that not a sign from God? Cries the rabbi. A sign from nature, they insist, again, making it 3-1. And just as the rabbi is about to beg an even bigger sign, the sky blackens, and a voice from the heavens intones, he's right. And the rabbi, hands on his hips, says, well, And the others shrug. So now it's 3-2? That joke probably sounds familiar to you. It's based on a Talmudic teaching that I've shared from this bima before. At the heart of it is the Jewish value of sacred disagreement and the priority of the value of interpretation over conclusion, the principal importance of communal unity over the difference of opinion. In the Talmudic original, the rabbis are gathered to debate whether an oven is kosher, and when the heavenly voice declares the single rabbi to be correct, you'd think the debate would be over. Here is irrefutable evidence of God's will in the matter, sort of the way we might feel when the answer to a challenge seems so obvious it defies logic that the other person doesn't see it the way we do. But that's not what happens in the Talmud. Instead, the group of rabbis responds to the heavenly voice. The Torah has been given to us. It is ours to debate, to struggle, and to interpret. And the heavenly voice has no say. Butt out. And the Talmud is informed, this text in the Talmud is informed by the commandment from Exodus, you must incline after the majority. This notion that we couldn't possibly know the fullness of Torah, but if you maintain the sanctity of a unified community, you are abiding by far more fundamental laws of Torah ethics. Judaism is rooted in the obligation to weigh and interpret Torah, to apply it to life and life to it. That means prioritizing the questions over the answers, refusing to take a single interpretation for granted. Instead, holding the possibility of multiple interpretations at once. The rabbis say 49. That the lessons learned in past experiences can inform our response to the present, but when we become stilted by them and try to live in the past, we quickly become unmoored and realize anger, frustration, and hatred, born when we find ourselves in a world that is no longer the reality for which we were prepared. Our humanity does not permit us to succeed meaningfully without patience and openness for one another. Because as imperfect creatures, we could never fully understand all of what God has given to us. But we can engage with it more and more as we learn and grow and find ways to continually connect to the divine around us, within us, and within the people around us, however different their experiences and their perspectives. The rabbis of ancient Israel taught that each and every law must be understood by the person with 49 reasons in their mind to rule the matter one way, and 49 reasons they might rule the matter the opposite way. That the most astute and committed would recognize, in fact, that even the most basic, obvious, clear, and fundamental laws are not at all obvious or clear. That a debate on interpretation, whether on practice or philosophy or thought, could and should arise regularly, and once a majority has come to a decision, we are obligated by God and one another to obey by it until it arises again, and we discuss it again. This principle of discussion and debate is called machloket l'shem shamayim, disagreement for the sake of heaven. And it creates a culture of debate and thought in our tradition which would force us to never become complacent in our views, never take for granted our assumptions, never rest easy with what we think we know. And that enabled our people and our tradition to survive through thousands of years of turbulent times. This week, we read about the very fine details of the construction of the tabernacle and the associated ritual items. It is a taxing list of materials and measurements. It is meant to be a symbol of the dwelling of God in our midst and is understood to be a metaphor for the creation of the world, for the work that we are meant to do here and now to build our world into a place that is worthy of God's presence, to establish space on earth for God, for holiness, for love, compassion, and justice, for all that God represents. And this is not done through brute force, violent crusade, vicious attack, shunning, shaming, devaluing, degrading, trolling, saying what you know to be right on Twitter, or even refusing to admit you don't have all the information. But it's about building and coming together to construct that tabernacle here on earth. It's about recognizing that only the one who is singular and perfect could possibly know all that there is to know. And the Holy One doesn't get a say. As the rabbis of the first few centuries of the Common Era taught in the Talmud, there are 50 gates of wisdom. But to Moses, God only revealed 49. Therefore, no human, not even Moses, can attain absolute truth. Comedy often says so much about the challenges we face in the moment in culture. When the invasion in Ukraine began, well, the special military operation, I guess I should say, a meme came along pretty quickly. It's the image of a gentleman sitting at his computer with a coffee mug in his hand, and the caption reads, "I'm done being an expert on vaccines. This week, I'm a foreign policy specialist." Why do people do that, though? Talk as if they know all there is to know about something, and put on airs of certainty because they read an article by their favorite commentator, or see a video on TikTok explaining the whole thing. Why do we all have so much trouble sharing an opinion and at the same time admitting we might not know all that there is to know? We might not have lived through the thing we have an opinion about. Speaking as a human being who is in process of becoming. Each of us, if we care about Torah and seek to meaningfully encounter holiness, we can't operate as people who know. We must be people who think, who consider, who are capable of holding multiple interpretations and understandings, even and perhaps especially the ones that conflict with one another. Holding it all in our hands and in our minds at once so that the lessons that we learn from them can respond to the world as it is and as it changes, rather than responding to the world as we wish it were. So that we are able to ensure that Torah remains relevant and responds to changing norms and realities and experiences. This is what our people have done for thousands of years, and it is our turn to do the same. I see this all the time with people. They've learned about simplistic ideas taught as truths, which not only ensure they are unprepared for adulthood, but it rocks their Jewish identity entirely when they learn that what they've been taught may not be quite right. When they learn that the Israelites probably didn't actually sleep in Sukkot as they wandered the desert, or that a mass exodus from Egypt might not have happened, or that our ancestors, Abraham and Sarah, and their named descendants may not have actually lived the way the Torah describes. These were things that rocked my world, and I'll talk about another one in a moment. And it wasn't rare to see classmates and other rabbinical students weep as they realized that everything they had been taught as a child in religious school was a lie. But it wasn't a lie. It was a view that we think makes sense to share with children because it's simple and uncomplicated. And this has destroyed people's connection to what makes Judaism beautiful. It has weakened our people, and it weakens the future, because they were not taught the value of interpretive thought, inquiry, debate, and the joy that Torah has to teach when read through the lens of interpretation and holding 49 views on one side and 49 views on the other, but instead when read for truth rather than fact. Sunday mornings, we get 3 hours a week, 2.5 hours a week, 28 Sundays a year when we're lucky. And in that amount of time, we try to teach 4,000 years of Jewish development, history, tradition, and thought. We won't succeed at preparing anyone for adult Jewish meaning if we try to say that the reason to celebrate Hanukkah, this was the other one, to celebrate Hanukkah is because God granted a miracle and the oil lasted 8 days. That doesn't mean anything to most adults. It's a story that feels childish. It doesn't resonate for many of us. But even a slight twist, which is totally within the realm of possibility for even our youngest to understand, a slight twist can make a difference. That instead we celebrate Hanukkah because for thousands of years, this story about a miracle of oil lasting 8 nights inspired our people through challenging times. It brought light in times of darkness. That difference is subtle, but it is the difference between the survival, I believe, between the survival and the self-destruction of the Jewish people. One says, if you don't believe it, you aren't a good Jew. But the other says that whether you believe it or not, the story has power and it has purpose. The holiday allows us to touch the people from our families and generations past, and it allows for a creative renewal of ritual, for reflecting and interpreting and thinking about how we might celebrate the holiday in meaningful ways today. I believe we have to learn this lesson about the importance of trusting ourselves and our children and expecting them to exercise thought, to be capable of evaluating and preparing them for interpretation. We cannot possibly open up their brains and dump all of the knowledge we need them to know into them, regardless of how long they study, regardless of how long we study. But we can prepare to engage with the challenges of the world through the learning of values, of human dignity, of holding multiple perspectives as possible at the same time. Not the joke, but the very real and important tradition of 2 Jews, 3 opinions. The rabbis who established Judaism as Judaism, marking the moment from transition from Israelite sacrificial ritual to what we now know as Judaism in the first centuries of the Common Era, wrote these words referencing the 2 schools of rabbinic thought who were the epitome of opposition, the epitome of the idea of visceral, real opposition. They wrote, "Make yourself a heart of many rooms and bring into it the words of the house of Shammai and the house of Hillel, the words of those who declare a thing clean and the words of those who declare that same thing unclean." If we don't do that, if we stand on a foundation built on a single pillar that is our own experience, our own personal truth, irrespective of anyone or anything else, we will fall over, like a cedar that breaks in the very same wind that merely bends the reed. But if we lift up this idea that Bernard Henri Lévy calls the genius of Judaism, If we build up for ourselves and our children a foundation of learning, of growing, of evaluating, of coming to terms with how to seek community with others who value community regardless of their opinions, then we will stand firmly on that foundation through all the blowing winds and the storms to come. We will not be divided by our opinions, but united by our desire to engage with one another in healthy, meaningful, sacred debate. I believe this is true as we reflect on how to inspire our children with regards to Judaism. And I especially believe this is true as we seek in all ways, religious and secular, to prepare our children for life. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
This first Shabbos of the month, March, also happens to be Rosh Chodesh for Adar. And today we celebrate, as we usually do, birthdays and anniversaries, as we come together in community, one group of people in support of one another. We're not just here for each other in the hard times, but we also celebrate the good times together. If you're celebrating a birthday or an anniversary this month, I invite you to rise and share your name and what you're celebrating. Mazel tov. And your name? John? Well, he's got you beat.
You probably won't be very excited that I'm doing this, but my stepfather, Tibor Shecker, will be celebrating his 94th birthday on March 26th.
Happy birthday, Tibor. Anyone else? Birthdays, anniversaries? Well, to those who are celebrating this month, we're grateful that you've given us the opportunity to celebrate with you and to lift up the joys that you are experiencing this month. And we offer this blessing on your behalf. Mekor Chaim, source of life, we thank you for the blessing of life, for everything that enriches our lives. And we turn to you in gratitude as we share in the happiness of those celebrating this month. God be with them now and always. May they be blessed with health and happiness and with the strength to overcome any and all of life's challenges. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, may God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka, may the light of God's presence shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom, may you know that God is near, and may you know a lifetime of holiness and peace. Baruch atah Adonai mevarech hashanim. We praise you, O God, who blesses the years, as together we say, Amen. As we continue in joy and celebration, I welcome forward, representing our temple board, Susie Novick, to offer the English words of Kiddush, which can be found on page 5.
Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who finding favor with us, sanctified us with mitzvot. In love and favor, you made the Holy Shabbat our heritage as a reminder of the work of creation. As first among our sacred days, it recalls the exodus from Egypt. You chose us and set us apart from the peoples. In love and favor, you have given us your holy Shabbat as an inheritance.
Please rise as we sing together.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pari hagofen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotov v'ratzavonu, v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon inhilanu, zekaron lama'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom te'ilo lamikro ekol. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat Amen.
Chaim. We remain standing as we turn to page 282. Page 282, Aleinu L'Shabeach.
Aleinu l'shabeach Adon hakol, latei gdula liotzer reshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adamah, shelo sam chalkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim u'mishtachamim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamalchim hakadosh baruch hu. V'ne'emar v'chaya Adonai v'melech ha'kol ha'oretz hayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
You may be seated as we continue reflecting on memory, page 289. Page 289. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows. It is radiant with warmth and beauty. But soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance, and our life burns down in gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen, yet we do not despair. For we are more than a memory slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. As we reflect on those who have enlightened and inspired us, if I mention the name of a loved one you're remembering, I invite you to rise as I invite those who are with us virtually to share the names of those they are remembering this Shabbos as well. We mourn the recent death of Luis Alberto Martinez, Adriana Peralta, Beverly Lubetkin, Muriel Tucker, Gerald Smith, Janet Lieberman Duke, Brandon Fernandez. And this anniversary week of their passing, we observe yahrzeit for Robert Avner, Helen Kleinberg, Julius Berg, Miriam Burr, Sydney Z. Blagrand, Sarah Blumenfeld, Mary Bothner, Ginger Chapman, Hinda Cohn, Milton D. Feinberg, Maurice Frankel, Jenny Friedman, Charles Morton Fruithandler, Irene Galatzin, Merle Garwood, Rosalind Aronowitz Golden, Giza Gray, Helene Herman, Stella Y. Herman, Leon L. Israel, Solomon Judah, William R. Klein, Helen Berg Kleinberg, Simon Kotowski, Branette Mayer Krupp, Leah Luan, Lena Lieberman, Shirley Luger, Sarah A. Mandel, Anne Blagrand Marks, George Alexander McAlman, David Medoff, Boris Melnikoff, Desider Miller, Henry L. Mirup, Carlos Moser, Raul Nieto, Ethel A. Oppenheimer, Hilda Riedman, Maria Rodriguez, Ruth C. Rosen, Morris Rosenwasser, Idel Snyder Rothstein, Simon Sachs, Sarah F. Sattinger, Adolf Schwartz, Bernice Schwartz, Marshall Scher, Stuart Schrader, Lois Stampa, Terry Walker, Irene Waxman, Benjamin Weinberg, Emmanuel Zimmerman. Are there any names to add? We remember them, and we remember all of those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. We think of all of those in mourning as they've lost loved ones in the midst of terror. and violence in the last week and at this time of the year in years past. As we read together from Mourner's Kaddish, page 294. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, b'hagala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithalev v'yithalal shemei d'kudusha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing, as together we say, amen. You may be seated.
Osei shalom b'mromav, uyasei shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yasei shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yasei shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yasei shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yasei shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
At this moment, I'd like to welcome forward Temple President Stuart Schwartz to offer announcements.
Thank you very much, Rabbi. Appreciate your remarks tonight. That reminds me that you can't learn if you don't listen, and how important listening is. So if there's a lesson that I learned tonight, it's to listen, and I listened to your remarks and very much appreciate your remarks tonight. Thank you so much.
And you did the reading.
And exactly. And Susie Novick, thank you so much for being on the Bema with us tonight and serving as secretary of our board. To the Kosher Cowpoke, who did a marvelous job as usual tonight, thank you all so much. And to Sherry Schwartz, our past president, we appreciate your being here as well. I have several announcements I'd like to read tonight. In addition, I'd like to thank Lou Ann Francis for greeting us tonight. Thank you for being here. And our streaming sponsors, Vlade Kranovich and Olga Kashalova, in memory of Boris Melnikov, Janice and Damon Crossland, in memory of Terry Walker. Our Bema Flower sponsors, Vlade Kranovich and Olga Kashaleva, in memory of Boris Melnikov. Marion Garmel, Evelyn Fox, Sam Simon, and Sue Pickens Owens, in memory of Sarah Mandel. Janice and Damon Crossland, in memory of Terry Walker. Bobby Goldfarb, in memory of Terry Goldfarb Walker. Nina Alvin Martinez, in memory of Leah Luan. Susie and David Novick, in memory of Adolf Schwartz. And Mindy Denver, in memory of Henry Mirab. And our Kiddush sponsors, Vladik and Olga, in memory of Boris Melnikov. Janice and Damon Crossland, in memory of Terry Walker. Taryn Reese and William Klein, in memory of William Klein. And Carol Malloy, in memory of Benjamin Weinberg. We'll have Torah study again tomorrow at 9 o'clock, as well as online. You can join us in Zalanka Hall, followed by Shabbat services at 10:30. There will be Religious School Purim Carnival this Sunday on March 6th. Everybody's invited at 9:30. There will not be any adult education during the month of March. We'll pick it up after that. Save the date, March 11th at 6:15 for the Hadassah Shabbat Zakor here at Temple. And March 16th at 6:15, join us at Temple for a Purim celebration. And also, another save the date, March 24th, Congresswoman Veronica Escobar just returned from her first trip to Israel and will be here in a joint hosting with Congregation B'nai Zion to describe her trip to Israel, and we encourage everybody to attend. It ought to be a very important and very informative evening. That's at 6 o'clock here at Temple Mount Sinai. She traveled there with other members of Congress. Register before March 21st for the Kala on May 27th through 29th in Tucson, Arizona. We desperately need more reservations, so if you're interested in going, please register. It's at the Tonke Verde Ranch. We went pre-COVID. I had a wonderful time. This one is geared particularly to adults, although children are also invited, and we encourage you to sign up as soon as possible. This event is made possible in part by a generous grant from the Jewish Community Foundation. The Temple Passover Seder dinner, second night, is April 16th. You can save that date as well. And also the April 24th is the Jewish Food Festival. If you'd be interested in volunteering or co-sponsoring or participating in that event in a financial way, please see David Perlman in the back, or you can call him or Noel Meyer, and they'd be more than happy to take your information. Wishing you a wonderful Shabbat.
We turn to page 341 to conclude our service, Lechi Lach, as we wish one another well and blessing as we depart from this service and go on our way. Lechi Lach, page 341. If you are able to rise, please do.
Lechi Lach, to a land that I will show you. Lech Lecha, to a place you do not know. Lechi Lach, on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing, and you shall be a blessing, you shall be a blessing. Lechi Lach, Lechi Lach, and I shall make your name great. Lech Lecha, and all shall praise your name. Lechi Lach, to a place that I will show you. L'simchat chayim, l'simchat chayim, l'simchat chayim, Lechi Lach. You shall be a blessing, and you shall be a blessing, you shall be a blessing. Lechi Lach. Shabbat shalom.
Adonai oz le'amo yitain. May God give strength to our people. Adonai yivarech et amo b'shalom. May God bless us all with peace. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Please join us in Schwartz Hall, I believe, for Kiddush and Motzi. Could be just outside.
That was a great sermon. Very